Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Second Age Show episode. And joining me today, of course, as you can see, we have a brand new format, which I want to first thank Carl for helping us with that. And yes, this is how it's going to look. And I think, Varkin, as you were showing there, were you biting onto something?
Oh, I just had one of these cool little Rings of Power Kit Kats. There's a diesel one too, but that one's like it's gonna stay nice. If I wanted to eat one, it would be this one. Shout outs to Lady Nico for sending me these. They're awesome, and I appreciate it.
Do you want to see what I've got somewhere?
Yeah, what do you have somewhere?
It's actually something that was sent by Amazon that I still have never opened.
Look at the respect you've showed them.
So, like, see what people say. What's it called? You get paid shills to have the gifts. Look at this. I think it's meant to be an Amazon Echo, but
Oh, one of those, yeah.
One of those ones with Newman on it. You know, I'll give this away. You know why not? I don't know how to post, but if any, this is all on top of the spot. So if anybody, we can try and work out something. We'll give this. In here is a Numenor Alexa.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what they're called. Yeah. So
yes.
We'll give one of these away soon.
I have the box for mine still, but I gave mine away to a fellow creator.
Fair enough. Well, okay. I'm sure everyone's here waiting for the news. So yeah, me and Vok will have our own little talk show later. So joining us, firstly, we have Strider, as always. Hello, friend.
Hello, everyone. Great to be here, as always.
Great to have you. And in the middle today, we have Cathy. Hello there.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here, too.
Great to have you here. And joining us for the first time, we have one of the new members of Fellowship Fans, Violetta. Hello there.
Hi, nice to be joining you today.
Yes,
Welcome
great
to
to
the
have
gang.
you on. Yes, welcome. And finally, last but not least, we have Varking himself.
Shout out to all the Dwarf Lords in the chat during this video. Appreciate everybody showing up week in and week out.
Baruch Kazad.
Yeah. What they said.
God, it's got me goosebumps, bro.
So, yep. This week is all about battles, and I think the main thing is which actors have been on the battle sets is the first thing. Then we have another leak, which is more of a, should I say scoop actually, which is more of a small one. Then we've got a quite interesting one at the end. So I think, let's just get right into it. So which actors? So on the filming, there are two different battle sets. There's Shottersbrook and then there's Buttersteep. So at Shottersbrook, we have some of the actors that have been working on these battle sets, which includes armies, fighting scenes, etc. So, should we get into it?
Yes, sir.
So, actors present at the battle sets at Shottersbrook Park include Robert Armeo, Elrond, Benjamin Walker, Gilgalad, Sam Hazeldine, Adar, Selena Lowe, Elf, and Morvith Clark, Galadriel. So that is the first bit. So we have Adar. We have, first of all, him on the battle sets, which is quite an interesting thing. But I'll start for you, Strider. Generally, what do you think of all these characters on these battle sets?
Well, I guess this is going to be the climax. So, well, the main takeaway here is, I mean, unsurprisingly, having Adar, Galadriel, and Elrond present in the climax of the second season is like, that makes perfect sense. But the main takeaway here for me is that Selena Lowe's character will be another important character that will also go to the battle. So I will basically just repeat my concerns that I mentioned in previous videos, which is that I think we kind of talked about her potentially being one of the Smiths. So I'm hoping that she doesn't become just like a generic I can do everything character, that we will see her as a capable Smith and maybe build her relationship with Celebrimbor and so on, and then have her position here instead of what happened with Bronwyn in the first season when she just became a fighter and the leader out of nowhere.
So yeah, seeing that
so yeah.
character progression, would be interesting. So yeah, it's interesting for that. But I know, Cathy, you got analyze this thing for me. What are the main takeaways? What does this mean?
Okay, so I have so many thoughts. I don't want to take up time, so I'm kind of trying to like think how to shorten it. But this is very exciting to me because if I'm correct, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that location, where the battle happens is one of those drone photos that we've seen. I think it's the wall, right?
No, it isn't. It
No.
isn't the wall. It's that. It's just a wide, massive field, basically. So
Okay.
it seems
Okay.
like it's like army scenes, the charge scene as well.
So it's different, right?
It's where it's where the horse unfortunately died. It's that area.
Oh, okay. But anyway, I mean, like we've seen it, right? Like on the photos, right? Okay. So that's interesting to me because last week we were discussing that the Gil-galad is actually present on the battlefield, and we saw Lyndon elves dead on the ground. So we thought that originally, like we thought that maybe he just sent the army, but it looks like it's going to be Lyndon army and a Region army together, and the Lyndon army led by Gil-galad. So obviously, like it's going to be much bigger than we thought. So this is great. This is a great news for me because I love, like large scale battles. So that's great. Another takeaway, again, last week we were discussing that Adar is going to capture Galadriel. So I wonder how this connects with that part of the plot. Like is her capture a part of the battle? Does it happen then, or like maybe she returns somehow? Like is Adar ally or like frenemy, enemy? Like so it's very exciting. Like that we have all these players and how that's going to play out. So yeah.
Yep, and as you said, it's really interesting that we're actually going to see Gil-galad for once now on these actual battle sets, and probably in the role of leading, presumably the army, which is most likely going to be the Lyndon one. So it's nice to get a bit more confirmation around that. Indeed, and again, how it links to potentially Galadriel's capture, or maybe even freedom now. So, yeah.
Yes, I mean, like the connection of the scopes that we have, like it's getting better and bigger, right? So it's nice to see the plot unfolding, like getting some structure in the plot, like getting the players, at least as far as the battle part of the story goes. And also, since we are all fans of Adar, right? In my opinion, they're probably going to build the season toward the battle. So battle is not going to take place in the first half of the season, aka episodes 1 to 4, but more likely 5 to 8, like last season.
Yeah.
So that means that like he's going to survive for quite some time, and and that's great. He's a great character. So yeah.
Yep, and I think that's kind of what you've done now. So Strider perfectly ticked Selena low in that aspect that she's here. Then now you've talked about the Gil-galad thing and how that is a possibility and what that means to him now being here. So that's the two main ones, but there's also another main one, which is Adar. Him being on these battle sets and being the villain, it seems like, not Sauron. So Violetta, I'll go into first of all, what's your initial reaction to the whole news, and then what do you think this means for Adar's character in this second season?
It's very exciting to hear that all these characters are going to be together in a battlefield, and I am excited to see how close to one another they're going to be, and if like Galadriel is going after Adar or if she's staying more behind. And also one takeaway I want to take from like Cathy, she said about Gil-galad going into the battle, and I'm wondering whether he will actually go or be like Miriel in at the battle of episode 6 and stay back and just be the leader in presence, just to like give the troops some hope and stuff. As for Adar goes, given the previous coups, I also believe it's part probably of the plot of Galadriel being captured by him. So probably this battle is either gonna be his downfall, or I don't know if he's gonna escape it again. If he does, it's gonna be kind of a reminder of what we saw at the end of the episode 7, was it? Yeah, or 6. Yeah, but if he doesn't escape or doesn't is it potential for him to win? Is it possible? Like we see a defeat of the Elven army? That would be a very interesting twist, I believe. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that is interesting to see whether Adar actually does survive from this yet again. And it does really, I think I like the thing that you said about, see, the parallel would make with season 1 is that we had Miriel at the back, then you had Elendil in the actual battle, leading it all. And then, for example, then we have like Isildur there in the midst of it. Maybe for the elf side, it will be like, okay, we have Gilgalad in that Miriel role. Then we have Elrond, who Rob Aramo is also on these sets. Elrond is in that Elendil room, maybe the command or something like that. And then, of course, you have Selena Lowe somewhere, maybe like that Isildur. Like, is that, of course, not an exact parallel, but it's kind of what could potentially be happening here. So, yeah, seeing maybe this will be interesting to see maybe Elrond finally step up as well, which is a nice, interesting thought.
You know what?
Yeah.
And speaking of Elrond, sorry, I'm sure that he won't be writing speeches for Gil-galad in the battle. So I think he'll get down and dirty, and I'm very excited about that. He's adorable. I love him. So
yes,
okay.
And I feel like they are ticking boxes with Elrod's character. Like they made him as wise as a wizard in the first season, and maybe as far as an Elfrod, someone would say. Now it's time to make him as strong as a warrior and to portray that.
Yes.
So I feel like they are taking his description from The Hobbit and just ticking boxes as they build his character along the season.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think with Strider covering Selena Lowe and Cathy covering Gilgalad, and now Violetta covering a bit of Elrond and Adar, Barking, I think for you, let's hear your thoughts. But also, Galadriel, what side of this battle do you think she is going to be on? I'm not saying allegiance-wise, but maybe is she going to be something like captured during this battle?
So she's an elf, so ultimately I do hope she gets captured. That's what's good for them. As we've pointed out previously, there's a lot of dead elves on set around this time, which shows that Gil-galad has not sucked up his pride, and he doesn't know how to ask the dwarves for proper help, because if we were at the battlefield, there would be much less casualties for them. Now, Strider earlier mentioned Nazanin, and by the time this video comes out, her birthday will have passed, but happy birthday, Nazanin, from Fellowship of Fans to you. And then, like people have gone over, having Selena Lowe at this means that she is definitely playing a bigger part than what we probably initially expected. And this is the battle, so it's going to be towards the end of the season. And knowing that Adar is going to be there, when there were talks of how they were replacing Joseph Mall with Sam Hazeldine, that they didn't think Adar might be playing such a big role for season 2 and might be killed off very early in the season. If this battle's happening in the later stages of the season, then obviously he's played a bigger role and has had a bigger role, at least than what fans have speculated for him. So that's my thoughts around all of this. And just happy to see Robert Aramayo as Elrond there, because he killed it in season 1. So the more I see of him on screen, the more happier I will be.
Can I point out something? I have to connect.
If it's anti-dwarf, then no.
Go ahead. I have to connect it with our scoop from previous week, because I remember that we said that Selena Lowe was filming with Robert Aramayo, Benjamin Walker, Morphy Clark, and Charles Edwards. But this time in this scoop, Charles Edwards isn't mentioned. And I think
Ooh.
that that's very interesting. It's significant that Celebrimbor isn't mentioned in this scoop. So, in this, I mean, like, so he doesn't appear here. Where is Celebrimbor? Is he alive still? Is he dead? You know, like,
Or
is he?
maybe he's preoccupied in a different part of.
I think that's interesting because like that player isn't there, even though he is the biggest part of Eregion. Eregion is literally his, but he isn't in this scoop. So I think that's interesting.
That is a good point because mainly while this whole battle stuff's happening in other parts of Middle Earth, of course, there was obviously an interesting fellow who was with Celebrimbor the entire time making rings. So, Strider, do you think maybe that's might what be happening here, and that is why Celebrimbor isn't at these battle sets?
I mean, yeah, it could be. It's going to be interesting how they will handle Celebrimbor's story arc here. Um, and yeah, it's a good connection that he isn't mentioned with this group of actors because I don't know, maybe they just want to make him a warrior, perhaps, which I don't know, like if he was ever expressively described as such, because like okay, yeah, sure, I'm sure he participated in the War of Wrath. I guess everybody did, so it's
Yeah,
kind of like a must. But like it was, kind of a given. And of course, he doesn't really survive the fall of Eregion, but
spoiler alert.
yeah, I mean that's why we're here
Yeah, I'm
to
joking.
spoil stuff. So yeah, perhaps he won't be shown as a warrior, or perhaps he will want to maybe guard like that final stand area where all his prized possessions are, or they just get separated in a battle. Because the question is where Galadriel will be, because maybe is she trapped in a region with Celebrimbor and the elves? Because a Lindon army will be coming to relieve them, to help them in the
Well, we do know she is on these battle sets though, so maybe they've already been. Maybe it can still work. Yeah.
yeah. But I mean that's the question. Like I'm trying to fit together this with the previous week. It could still be that Selina Law and Charles Edwards were together on one set,
Yeah.
then battle starts, and then they get separated. And then when the Lindon army, led by Gil-galad and Elrond, arrives, I mean that's what I'm assuming that logically that should be the way it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Then
Also,
Selina gets to bump into these other main characters, so maybe that's the way it happens.
yep,
Yep.
yep, for sure. And sorry, do you now want to also go on to the next scoop,
Yeah.
please?
For the first week and a half.
Also, I think
recording
so. I think this is actually a record. That this is the first time we've ever like gone this long talking about a scoop. To be fair, we're 18 minutes in, so that's kind of cool.
Oh,
But
wow.
all right,
All
Strider,
right.
go on to the next one.
For the first week and a half of recording at Shottesbrooke Park, many of the battle scenes were filmed during the day, not at night.
Mm-hmm. So I'll just quickly cover this one. The reason why I've included it is because the battle scenes that are being shot are not going to be night scenes or shot in the dark, because we know that in future episodes we'll be sharing the ones that potentially were. So I think people worried about Game of Thrones and how they made everything look dark and it could barely see stuff. So that's sort of like it's not going to be the case here. Everyone is going to be able to see this stuff during the day, these battle scenes. So yeah, I don't think we should dwell too much long on this one, but this is just another.
I'd like to have a comment about it real quick, but not anything too big. Just from a strategic standpoint, if Adar is going to be there, and I assume that means orcs are going to be trying to invade,
true.
and if it's during the day, not at night, they're at a disadvantage unless they found sunscreen and hats and visors and all that to wear to stay out of the sun, because they won't be in Mordor where it's all covered up. So if they're able to infiltrate Eregion during the day, despite being at a significant disadvantage based on who they are, even more props to Daddy Adar for being an absolute stud of a leader and warrior and going in there and handling business against the elves.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Or
a fair
maybe he
point.
conjured maybe a cloud, just like that happened in the Lord of the Rings. Maybe something like that, and that'll be CGI added in later
And you
on.
know what? What else? I mean, I think it's so the number of orcs that were following Adar in the first season. What's going to be very interesting to me is, do we get a time skip? Because I think we kind of have to. Also, like whether between seasons or within the second season, because how do we get from those, let's be generous and say several hundred orcs, to an army that's actually capable of invading the capital of a region? That's going to be very interesting to see. How do we get to that number of orcs?
Yeah.
Just also pointing that out. But yeah, I think it's a great comment regarding the sun, especially the way they set it up in the first season. It's going to play a huge role, or it should play a huge role.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And I think that's something that we'll probably try and get updates on, seeing how the filming went. Maybe if there were what strategies were used by, of course, Adar when he's leading the orcs. So yep, sounds good. But Varkin, do you want to go and quite an interesting final scoop?
Yeah, so the final scoop of the day is that in one battle scene, Gil-galad rides up and speaks to the orcs. Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that seems like quite a big or cool moment, personally, to me. But I think, Cathy, should we start off with you? Then we'll go to Varkin.
I think we should throw it to Sister V, the new girl over here.
Yeah.
Let's get that reaction because she didn't
Last
know
year
this
live
stuff.
reaction, yeah.
Okay, that one, yeah, it was the only one that I wasn't expecting, to be honest, because from what Harry had told me that we will generally discuss, I expected some of the characters that we mentioned earlier, but Gil-galad trying to make a truce with the orcs and go with and how does he approaches them without the orcs attacking him or shooting arrows or just how does he do that?
Maybe
That's my first question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No. And the second thing is why will he choose to do that? I think that's a bigger question. The other one is a technicality that will be easily explained. But why does he choose to approach them? Maybe it's the time that he wants to negotiate the freedom of Galadriel instead of marching immediately into battle and potentially losing some elves. Because from what we've seen in the first season, he doesn't really like her because it caused a lot of trouble, but he puts the life of his people above everything else. Yeah. And I don't think he would be a leader to sacrifice the lives of elves lightly without trying to go another way. So that would be an interesting, I think, approach.
And for your first question, I think the best way to maybe potentially put it is like maybe why in the Lord of the Rings, Aragorn, Gimli, Frodo, all basically the main characters did not get shot when like at the Black Gate. And I think, like, for example, I think for Strider and Volcano, we watch shows like The Last Kingdom, Game of Thrones, and like Vikings, etc. Like in these battles, sometimes in the wars and battles, the leaders go up and like meet each other in the center beforehand, or like they talk before the battle begins. So it could either be that, maybe it's after the battle. We don't know when in the battle this is, or even though it's unlikely, it could be during the battle. But maybe I think the one
it
thing
it could be his Dane Ironfoot moment. It could be riding up to come talk your trash to them before you're about to lay down them hammers and destroy all those elven arrows. It could be that. But I really like what she pitched. I really like the idea that maybe it's Gil-galad trying to negotiate the release of Galadriel.
That is actually a very good point, yeah. And I think for me, what this mainly does is, like, of course, a lot of people talked about in season 1, Galadriel, or not Galadriel, Gil-galad almost was in the back step, didn't have too many big character moments. We're just standing there watching characters go by like he's Batman. Maybe now in season 2, this seems like a bit of more of a cool moment or something not cool moment, but something that gives him like a character moment for him. Something that just he's like doing stuff now. I know it's weird. The show runs and season one has made it sound just like this character's actually doing something now, but that's basically what it is. This character is actually doing something now, which is nice to see. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Cathy, Strider, any one of you want to share?
I mean, like, this is interesting. I mean, like, I'll be honest with you, I didn't like this character in season one at all. And now when I mean, like, when I've heard about this scoop, this particular scoop, my interest suddenly went from like, like bottom zero to a whoop, like, so yeah, I mean, like, it's really great. And especially because whichever option, it is in this on the show, whether he went to the orcs to like pick up the fight, like that sort of thing, or negotiate the truce, or negotiate Galadriel's release, or having like 2-on-2 with Adar or something, like it's interesting. It's an interesting situation that we didn't expect to hear about, like, so yeah, I'm very excited, I don't have much to add, because I think that Violetta covered everything, and Varking as well, so yeah, and Harry too, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would also just agree with that. Like, basically, we need to start rooting for Gil-galad, because he's going to play a very major role towards the end of the show, and I mean throughout the show, but especially at its climax. So we need to start rooting for him. And yeah, he wasn't really likable in the first season, and yeah, a cool way to start liking him is for him to show up and do some proper leadership, so negotiating in order to perhaps save someone's life, or like, get Galadriel back, or just try to negotiate a truce, to see that he's capable, like that he shows that he has this peaceful goals in mind, and that he is willing to try to use like different tools to achieve his goals. That's important. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. But
Yep.
and also it's great that I'm hoping that we'll also see him kind of mentoring Elrond as well, which is
Yes.
kind of the relationship that they did have in the lore. So that would be cool. And I'm hoping we see them
And
have
it's
some
also
bromance, or like mentor-mentee moments during this.
And it's like almost a
Final part.
foreshadowing of the War, the Last Alliance. So it'll be interesting to see what
Yeah.
the parallels will be
Yes,
when we see that so many years later, which is another interesting thing. So, anybody have any final thoughts on any of the scoops from today?
Yeah, I think that maybe we're wrong, and maybe Gil-galad is negotiating a reverse. He's negotiating the capture. He goes up to the orcs and he's like,
Please help me with
take
this
her.
woman.
She
I cannot
does
help
not
her.
listen. Have her. Go left, we'll go right. You get that. But in all seriousness, I think the last we see of Gil-galad in season one is he's like walking away from us, and he's got his weapon out, that like spear that looks amazing. I can't remember the name of it. It's an elf weapon. I'm not gonna say it. But low key, it does look really cool. We should get to see him use that and be masterful with it. And I would love for that to happen during this battle. I think that would be pretty cool.
Agreed.
Any others?
I think that in general they will try to build up how good of warriors Elrond and Gil-galad is, as they did like for Elendil in the previous season. They will continue to build on that, so that Last Alliance will have even bigger like impact on how difficult of battle it was for, spoiler alert, Gil-galad and Elendil to be like kind of not in their best aftermath anyway. So I'm really excited to see that and them getting into action, and especially Aeglos. I think I've seen a lot in Twitter how ready fans are to see Gil-galad fighting with Aeglos. The first time they saw his weapon on the season one, they were like, yes, we are ready to see that. It's looked perfect. It's amazing. It's going to be phenomenal. So I guess we're getting that. So, yeah.
Yep. Indeed, indeed. Well, we have discussed this quite a lot, and there's so many interesting ways and theories that could come from this, and also implications for some of these major characters for the second season. So it is great to have discussed that today and with everybody here. So thanks to all of you guys as well.
Thank you for hosting us.
Thank you.
Always awesome to be here.
Yeah.
Can't wait
That's
for next
awesome.
week.
Thank you, V, for joining us on your first show. It's awesome to have you here and have a fellow V name up on this list. And Cathy, if you're ever going to dress up for streams again and show me up, you should text me first so I can dress a little bit nicer too. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say.
Whatever. I just came back from work, okay?
All right then. Of course, thanks to everybody watching as always, and we will
It's
hopefully
summer
be seeing.
here, okay? So
Yeah, true. And we will hopefully be seeing you next week. So yeah, bye.
Bye bye.
Right.
Later, y'all.